Okay, it's time to transition into what will be a really important part of today and the broadcast and the season, which is the tier list competitively for Apex Legends, which has been decided after EWC and, of course, Germany in two different ways. EWC brought a lot of these legends up. Germany kept a few of them, and then Germany changed kind of a lot of the other structural elements of how this meta had been played. If I'd made this video 3 weeks earlier, you would be, pretty much playing the wrong characters. And if you had made it 3 weeks before that or 4 weeks before that, you might have been playing the wrong characters as well. It's pretty amazing how much things have changed. But this new patch, speaking competitively, has really shifted the way that we see the meta. And I'm going to explain to you what this bar is, because last time I go to this place called Apex Legends Tier Maker, and they didn't have anything besides OP, and then like undervalued and S, and I don't know if anything's OP. I really like this description. This is made from someone on Reddit, and I want to give them credit, but I don't want to lose this. So we'll see if I can give them credit right at the end. But if you go to Reddit, you could see this, and I'll try to link it in the video as well. So that just makes it easier. But standard meta, which is something that's seen in the meta as like kind of your go-to picks. These are pretty much the things people are going to play. Strong presence, characters that you'll see quite often. They're not going to be the standard meta, but they will be seen quite a bit in lobbies. It won't be a surprise. A decent presence, a little bit more surprising, but they're there. So while not every team will run them, maybe one team, out of our 40, depending on which lobby it is, will play one of these characters. Reject Winity or I don't know if it was Reject Winity's new team, or there was another team from APAC North that was representing Valkyrie, and they were the only one playing Valkyrie, so something like that. Rarely played are characters that if you see them, they're so brief you don't even know they were there. There's nothing to talk about, nothing to dissect. You won't probably see them again. That's what these characters are. Never played, well, that's pretty easy to understand. They were never played, and not competitive, meaning, not only are they never played, these characters probably need some changes in order to be competitive. You could maybe have some arguments about a few of these characters, but for most of them, they're going to be okay. The green arrows represent where they've gone from last patch into this patch. So have they improved? If they've improved from where they were before, they have a green arrow. If they have not improved and they've gone down, they have a red arrow. And that means that they were higher than they are now and they've gone down. Like I said, I thought this list was really good, and so I'd rather just explain this list versus go into anything differently. So what I'd like to do is kind of start at the top and work our way down, and we can get into more like problem solving, theory crafting as we work our way down. But for those who just want to know what the meta is, we can get that out the gate right away. So Bangalore is S+. Bangalore has become the go-to rotation character in the entire game of Apex Legends. And it's unbelievable to really consider because of how far she's come. She used to not even be played professionally. And that's why I always give credit to Shiv FPS, who was the Bangalore main. And when his team was able to make it into Pro League, Warlords and earlier iterations of that, I'm forgetting his name. It was like something, maybe 20. Anyways, they really pioneered what Bangalore could do, especially as we introduced Stormpoint, a map that was so big and so interesting. So that opened up different ways to rotate outside of sitting in a building, and suddenly you didn't need a Watson pylon as much, or you didn't need some caustic gas because it was too much space. You could just walk around the caustic gas, but you needed your lines of sight because everyone could see you, and it was so open and wide to be covered. And that's where Bangalore Smoke really changed the game. And she became a staple. Teams like TSM picked her up, and she became a staple ever since. She's still that staple. She brings her smokes with utility. Her passive, arguably one of the best passives in the game, with double time, meaning someone can just shoot near you at all. Like if they're shooting at you and in your direction, you just gain 30% movement speed. So talk about a competitive environment. You're always just 30% faster than everyone. You've got a medium hitbox. You're not trading any like, oh, I'm a big tanky character to get that. So you're not getting any negatives. And her ultimate still, despite the nerfs and despite the nerfs to the smoke, as long as the ultimate does what it does, as long as the smokes do what they do, she's going to be a really, really good pick. And why not build your kind of meta around a character most of the time that can do that? Well, there's a few reasons why, as we're starting to get into now our standard meta, which is completely shifted. And I'll kind of mention these characters right now, Pathfinder and Fuse, and how they were part of the meta and they've gone down. But Crypto and Newcastle and Watson and Catalyst, these characters have gone up. Um, Crypto really is probably the biggest uh, kind of star of this meta. If you were to look at highlights, or if you say who's the headliner, it would be Crypto for sure. And the reason Crypto is because he got a major couple of buffs. He got some buffs to his drone handling that went into his overall value. Didn't have to pick that. And he also got this added ability to go invisible while controlling his drone. Some of these things, alongside the fact that as a controller legend, as when you look at Watson or Catalyst, there were some buffs that came with kind of holding down spaces, and they became a little bit stronger. You started to see Crypto become a pretty good counter to what Watson might be. And so for many people, having the vision that Bloodhound used to have, but with the Crypto drone, with better handling, and also making Crypto a lot safer, really introduced Crypto back into the meta in a powerful way. And so he became kind of almost the standard pick. It was overnight. It was pretty wild. It was after the patch, and suddenly he was there. Now, Crypto means that you have kind of a semi-passive meta. So you could sit back, but when things are happening, it's immediately go. You Crypto EMP, and then you go and push on that team. But now you've got 3 or 4 Crypto EMPs. So here becomes the question. Do you build around being aggressive in a meta like this and challenging those teams who want to sit back, then EMP you and go all in? Or do you build defensive? And Crypto's a little bit of an answer for both. He could do either. He could sit back, or he can counter some of the defensive legends like Newcastle and Watson, who also are like the big staple picks in this meta. Newcastle, much, much improved. And really, the value of Newcastle is due to some of the things that happened in this latest patch. The reason Newcastle has always been pretty good is because his res is phenomenal when you can get it off, especially if you have a gold backpack or a gold knockdown shield. I always like trade which one that is. It used to be one and now it's the other. So being an older player, it doesn't actually help to keep that all in line. But being able to res your teammates with Newcastle and then get them back up to half health immediately. Remember, like when Lifeline had that kind of shield that you could press E and then it would give you the shield and then it would heal you and get you back up into the fight? That's kind of what Newcastle has now because of these new loot bins that are active, these kind of gold mythic loot bins that allow you to later in these rounds keep getting these high tiers of loot. It meant that you could almost guarantee getting these gold knockdowns to get your teammates back up at half health, which meant that once Newcastle res, which is pretty easy to do in a meta like this, you were back in the fight. It was extremely valuable. We even saw like glimpses of how valuable this was with Hardeki in the iteration of Aurora, who would run this by rushing the care package, getting to level 3 really fast, getting an Evo cache and moving from purple to red, and then getting another person onto purple, and then also getting a gold knock and being able to res people and keep this fight going and going. They were just like out leveling people. Newcastle can kind of do that. Along with his castle wall, they got a ton of buffs. Thanks, Webb. And it also put himself into a position where you couldn't really grenade through it. So he kind of did the same role as Watson. You had to grenade up, and over, but there's this like kind of trait that blocks any grenades or any ordnances coming from this angle of the wall. They've got to be very, very high up and almost loop down. And so that ended up giving Newcastle this really strong stability in this meta, and Crypto doesn't destroy Newcastle walls. So you see his value spike up because he can play that kind of counter, and he's a very difficult character to play, which is why I think Falcons and some other people struggled. Okay, the other thing to talk about is Watson. Watson is a really good legend in general. She was on the winning team, I think, in the last Split 1 playoffs, and she might have been in some of our most successful top 5 teams in last year's entire year of the ALGS. Fnatic is a good reminder of that. They placed top 10, I think top 5, maybe even top 3 once, and they typically always ran Watson with Yuka F. Watson just brings everything you need in a stable meta to play in World's Edge, to play on in buildings, to create sight lines. She does get countered by Crypto, but she also pairs well with Crypto. So you can play her, get countered by her, but then counter the other Watson, and then you've still, as long as you've got an ultimate accelerant, still got some defensive utility to holding its grenades and hold down your position. She also pairs well with Newcastle, so you can really create a very defensive location behind the Newcastle wall. And she's generally a pretty flexible character that has a lot of ways to be impactful in the lineup, whether on World's Edge, whether on Stormpint. And so Watson, nothing new, but that's why she's up there. Also, strong presence. These characters were seen quite a bit, but not as much as they were. The meta before this, guys, ended up going into a conversation around Pathfinder and around Fuse. Now, Pathfinder came in to this meta out of the blue, but so did Fuse. And one of the biggest things that Fuse got, which you could look at it in this kind of a way as an exciting thing for our legends down below, is that Fuse was given the ability to see where the zone is going to pull. He used to have a very bad passive that said 50% less damage on grenades if you want. Like, so the only way to take advantage of this would be to get hit by a grenade. And that's not what you're trying to do. So Fuse would essentially now replace that with the ability to fight and maneuver his team into the best areas in the zone. And so now Fuse could be an offensive version of a character like Watson, who, and might I just add, controller legends, another element about why they got better, Watson 2 and Catalyst, is they could see where the ring is going. So that's a huge part of pro level play. They need to know where the ring's going. Most teams require that. And so they need a legend that can do it. Fuse became a legend that can do that, even though he's an offensive legend. I believe an assault legend. I'm pretty sure that's what Fuse is. And so what really became the key is the fact that he now had information for his team. That's also why Watson is still a very good pick. But there was a passive change to controller legends that increased their value overall. So I'm just going back to Watson for half a second just to say, as a controller, one of the issues was you would rotate early, you'd find where the zone is, rotate early, and then wonder, all right, what do I do? I'm on whites, I'm on blues. How do I deal with this, right? So when Apex said, instead of that, what we're going to do is, as long as you're playing in the zone, if you're a controller player, because we know you got to rotate early and you don't have time to loot and pick things up, what we're actually going to do is give you 25 extra shield as long as you're in the zone. So now Watson on blue in the zone is actually Watson on purple. Watson on purple is actually Watson on red. So that means somebody can play in zone with these characters and just naturally have the amount of health as if they were able to essentially go and loot and grind up their gear and their Evo shields, which was a big deal and why, Watson and controllers got even better, right? Newcastle is a support. Remember that. So he crafts banners. It's not the same thing as being able to, do what Watson did. Also, quality of life. Anybody who was a controller who would drop things like Caustic and Watson, they could like turn around and like pick them up as they were leaving. So they didn't have to like spend all that time going back and forth, picking up their fences and things like that. So it just made them that much more effective. And we saw a lot more play from her. So Fuse was able to see circles. That brought him up. You could be offensive. Really good against a meta where people are sitting. People are trying to hold zones. Really good and competitive where you just get a lot of damage off of it. And the Motherload, his ultimate, had basically two different things that had made it give vision like across the map, which was you would throw an Evo balloon. You would throw like a huge balloon out, and then you'd shoot the top of the balloon, and you would then be able to see, it would make a much bigger fusel that would fall down and you could see pretty much everybody inside of it. So that's how people were getting extra vision from Fuse. So that was his story. He's fallen down a little bit. There's still a way to do it, but I think you have to shoot a Bangalore smoke on it, or you got to do something crazy on it Yo, Dolphin, that's crazy, 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 crazy. Um, for those who don't know, the chat said he loves to see Hal do terribly. It happens. It happens. I get it. I get it. Some people you love, some people you don't. You know, it's always tough. Well, let's stay in this so we keep the pace for those watching the video. Now, Catalyst, I think, is just one of those characters that just could have been moved up on her own, but controllers get a buff. Catalyst gets a natural buff to that. She also serves as kind of a character that we would see teams playing Catalyst kind of when they were doing a little something different, right? We'd see Newcastle, we'd see Crypto, we'd see Watson, we'd see Crypto, we'd see Bangalore, we'd see Newcastle, we'd see a lot of these things. But then somebody would throw a Catalyst in there and like, okay, they're going for the Catalyst. They're going for the Catalyst iteration. You know what I'm saying? And that would give you a different choice. So in game, when you're holding down zones, right, the option Catalyst gives you, which makes her really, really good, is to just cut that zone in half. So whether it's rotating or whether you're in the final circle and two teams are in one area and you're in the other area, you have the potential to just shut that off. So instead, those two teams decide, well, it's better to fight for second between us than to push through a wall and then whoever gets shot first dies. We don't have any control there. So a lot of teams, when that wall goes up, it just guarantees the Catalyst team a win. So that's why she's there. Pathfinder drops a little bit. Pathfinder really made some waves. I loved the Pathfinder meta. It lasted at EWC. It ended right after that. I still thought there were some teams utilizing Pathfinder really well, and one of the things that makes it so special is the access to height and the rotation capabilities that you have with the character. None of these other characters provide you rotation the same way that Pathfinder does, and people kind of found out how to get that value again back from the character, which was super exciting, and I think a great decision for everyone involved to kind of put Pathfinder back on the map. And while it's not really what we saw, I still think that this character is in a really good spot. So if you're playing ranked or anything like that, definitely check Pathfinder out again. I think it's come back. Let's go into the decent presences. So these were mostly the characters that we saw at LAN. So these 7 characters competitively is what people are going to be talking about. That's kind of how probably in high level ranked, outside of maybe the exception of Revenant or Maggie, you're probably going to be seeing a bunch of. Now, decent present was Wraith. I think Wraith just has a lot of the tools, but she doesn't outshine anyone. Most of you guys know who Wraith is. She's one of the oldest characters in the game. There's really not much to speak about her. There's nothing new added to her kit as well. She's a skirmisher. Skirmisher passive is just a little whatever. And, there's just not as much going on with the skirmisher legends. In fact, you look at most of the skirmishers, and while a few of them maintain some decent presence across the game, for the majority of it, they're tilted towards like not really being relevant in high level play. And Alter and Octane really haven't found their rhythm either. So Wraith, while she moves up a little bit, and I forget the team that was playing Wraith. There was a team playing Wraith. It had something to do with Designful. Like I know Designful played Wraith, but then there was the team that was playing it. It was connected to Designful. I don't know. I forget. But there was one team playing Wraith pretty decently. There was a team from Japan who was playing Valkyrie pretty consistently. It might have been Legends. It was Legends. It was Legends, David G. It was Legends because they showed up late. They played Wraith. Now, I don't know if this is a good sign, but this team, who's really considered a very good team, even one of us picked them to win the entire LAN, they disbanded right after LAN ended. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign as well. Pixie, someone did play Alter. I don't know if you guys can figure that out before mid video, but I don't have time to look it up. Valkyrie was played by a Japanese team from Challenger Circuit, and who had just done well in Pro League. And then also Revenant was played by Shadow 3690. They were a Chinese team, and they needed a big win in their last game to qualify towards finals, and they won. And they had a major game with Revenant. So this was pretty exciting to see, and it gave me some ideas alongside Maggie. And I'll give you I think we got to give the sneak peek to what I've seen some people playing, um, of what could happen in this meta. But let's just keep on this pace. But Maggie is a part of it, and so is another Assault Legend in the in the rarely, never, or not competitive space. Okay. So Revenant is really good in ranked. You guys, Valkyrie also has probably got some potential there. I think kind of a random pick, but outside of Shadow, nobody played him. Maggie, I don't know if any team really played Maggie. I don't remember watching a lot of Maggie either, and I just might not have been paying attention to those groups. But Maggie has something that kind of has some potential for countering Newcastle specifically. The riot drill does go through the first wall. Now, I don't know. I haven't tested the interaction of if it goes through the castle wall, but I believe it would because it's not destroying the castle wall, and it kind of bleeds through those other objects. But if it doesn't, it definitely goes through his first shield, the blue shield. And that's enough sometimes. That's enough to be really, really annoying. However, it does her bowling ball, her wrecking ball, it really doesn't go through castle wall. So Newcastle still has this premier kind of priority over interactions with Maggie, even if the riot drill is there, because you can kind of back off of that. While she has kind of a half counter, she doesn't just destroy his kit. Unlike Gibraltar, who she destroys the Gibraltar bubble, and she destroys her riot drill goes through his shield. Now, that's to be expected, though, because this is an ultimate, and technically it goes through Newcastle's shield as well. So, he has an offensive ultimate. You can't be blamed that this guy's offensive ultimate doesn't get destroyed by Maggie's tactical. Otherwise, tacticals become way stronger than ultimates, and that's a weird design philosophy that you got to, keep in your head, and I don't think they want to do that. But she's a really good character. I actually really like Maggie in ranked, so check her out if you're interested. Rarely played. This was kind of the biggest shift. The last few months, we saw this huge rise of Seer, and Seer came back into the meta, and he was the replacement of Bloodhound. Bloodhound was the meta alongside Fuse and alongside Bangalore, and you would see Bloodhound basically and this Bangalore play be this aggressive, run at you, get the job done, and fight meta. This is a meta that really, really was effective for teams like Falcons. It was really effective for high-level players. Super effective for, really super effective for anyone who felt like their team fighting was what they wanted to stand out. And so if you consider putting it, and I'm hearing about this SSG news right away. Somebody on YouTube has said that. I think it was Sam and now Crossover. I can't believe this. Is this really true? Oh my goodness gracious. All right, some breaking news. SSG apparently is breaking up. I got no information on that. The least that I could say, or at least that I can verify. But wow. All right, the team that just won LAN, we're finding out, is no longer going to stay together. Well, that is a strange one. This is breaking news for me. And what does that mean? That means that the last two teams that have won LAN have disbanded this year. That means Reject Winity have disbanded, and they've gone over to Crazy Raccoon and dropped one of their players. It now means SSG is disbanded, and one of those players will not be there. Two might stay together, who knows? Right after winning LAN. That is bizarro land. You do the one thing every org wants to do, and then you break up. I mean, this is the most, I don't have any context, but it just sounds ridiculous. Okay. So this is an interesting year for Apex because it's put us into a position of 3 metas happening across our lands. And normally land metas are a little bit more consistent, and they're consistent leading up to it and at it. But we've had 2 different lands, 2 different metas, and then a third land with kind of a different meta. And Seer was a big part of this one. That happened earlier, well, really in between, because I think we had Bloodhound in Split 1. Seer happened right after Bloodhound, but then Pathfinder and Fuse and Bangalore and some of these things started happening towards EWC, and Pathfinder was in the meta when Alliance finally won. So Seer never really got his moment in the sun at LAN too much. but it's still a very good legend. He's just dropped down, and Bloodhound no longer needs replacing. People have found ways to play Crypto for the scans and play more defensive legends due to the controller buffs as well. So these two legends fall out of being really played or relevant. Caustic also just doesn't have the value anymore because, if you're playing in open spaces or you need to, let's say, get past a Newcastle, what are you going to do? You can't throw your Caustic ultimate into the Newcastle. It's gonna get destroyed. So you can't throw it into a Watson ult. The characters right now, and Crypto destroys all your setup. So Crypto destroys the entirety of the Caustic setup with the EMP. So Caustic doesn't really have some good counters here. He's really good when you have characters who don't have defensive answers. So yeah, we're talking ALGS here. But yeah. Now let's talk about Lifeline. I did have fun at LAN. It was a lot of work. LAN is a lot of work for us. We don't get to do too much fun, and when we fit our fun in, it's not for the benefit of the broadcast. So it's like can't be like staying up late and hanging out in Germany like more than maybe one night out of the 7 that we're there, because then we got to wake up and we have a show. That's our job. We put that on for you guys and put it on for the players, and we got to do it justice. So we did have fun, but it's usually a little bit more work, and I got life going on, so I can't really come back a week later after doing solo trip. I'm married, I got life, baby. I love my life, but I got it, so I can't be yeah baby, so I just thinking I'm gonna stay yeah, I just think I'm gonna stay a week, check out Berlin, just see what's up. Yeah, I don't know when I'm coming back. Yeah, you taking care of the house? Okay, all good. Yeah. Oh, I gotta go. This great looking restaurant. I gotta go hit. Okay, bye. It's not a conversation that, I don't know if you ever had that. Try to have the conversation. Doesn't play out well. But no, I love coming back home. Got a lot of good things this week. Lifeline is really, really fun as well. And a good legend that, if you want to play her, brings pretty much the same thing. She's got a couple things toned down. They took away in this latest patch, if I recall, the ability for her to spawn a guaranteed Evo cache. So you're losing out a little bit on the leveling up of Lifeline and kind of hitting past those those barriers where you're kind of outpacing the rest of the lobby, hitting purples, hitting reds, like she was doing earlier in the year in Split 1. So yeah, I mean, she's kind of been tuned down, but I think she's in a good spot. I do like Lifeline a lot, and she's in a good spot. Just nothing competitively to offer, and Aurora, the team really prioritizing her, and in a few of those EMEA teams, there's just so many other stronger choices. Horizon, again, you talk about throwing a black hole, too risky when you're talking about these two characters being in the meta, so that naturally puts Horizon down, although I do love the idea of getting height in this meta. She doesn't have a lot of things that can be destroyed easily. There's something to say maybe about a Revenant and a Horizon that can be looked at to be getting aggressive. But yeah, you got to be really, really careful. And I don't know the interactions on throwing the black hole, getting destroyed by the Newcastle wall. Certainly, she shuts it down. And, Horizon outside of that height and that movement, which Pathfinder kind of gave a little bit more effectively with the energized zipline, the defensiveness, the height utility, she just hasn't really had her place yet. But I do miss her. I do miss a little Horizon meta. I'm open to Horizon meta every now and then. It's fun, so we'll see if it comes back. Gibraltar also really ever rarely played. Kind of like I don't really get what would be happening with Gibraltar. We thought he would get a little bit better. The LMG gun shield hop up that gives you 50 extra health, gives him and his shield, I think, 25 extra health on top of that. So there is something really valuable in, considering playing, Gibraltar a little bit more, maybe in your free time to see if it works. But defensive bombardment totally gets eaten up by Watson. There might even be a case of it not being as effective against a Newcastle. Him and Newcastle kind of right now, comparison to like who gets countered. If you're running Gibraltar and Crypto EMPs you and there's a Newcastle team next to you, you're going to have no shield. He's going to still have his shield up. That's a pretty harsh reality to face. So I wouldn't be messing with it. And now let's talk about the never played characters. Yeah, anything that can get destroyed, you're kind of looking at having less of an option, especially in this like pretty it's an aggressive meta, but it's a defensive meta. So what can you do to defend against an EMP? How hard does that hurt your setup? Well, it hurts ramparts quite a bit. Sheila is still a character that was, a legend. A weapon that can turn the tide of a fight, but we just are seeing a little bit more of the stronger stationary characters, the controllers jump in. And you got to remember, while she is a controller, she's one of the controllers that is kind of in that third tier rate compared to Catalyst and compared to Watson, who would be in the controller conversation, the top two controllers in Apex Legends. So, Caustic sometimes jumps in. A Rampart sometimes gets in there, but they're very, very off meta, and it's just in the time to try to go against it. Conduit's also received, nothing but kind of nerfs lately. It's been a little sad. I think this is a character that's unfortunate. Her design doesn't really allow her to be that strong. I mean, it really doesn't. Her design is kind of like only something that allows her to be decently valuable, because if she's too strong, she's OP. Giving people just straight up health or shields or easy reses or damage, right? These are really strong variables. You talk about design. There's a lever on a character I can pull. How many ballistic tacticals can I give him that he makes him bumps up his win rate or makes him lose? How much jetpack fuel can I give Valkyrie before she's hard to kill? How much damage can I give a character? How much health can I give a character, right? It's not the same. Like, one of these levers is like, the more health you give a character, the more they will win or not die. Or the more damage, the more kills they will get. The more jet fuel that Valkyrie gets, maybe at a high level it can help. At a low level, will it change much? It's one of those levers you pull that designers like to, that aren't this just like, let's make something brain dead OP or, really, really, unplayable. And so she's unfortunately designed with a kit very much like Fuse that is either so much damage and so good or not played at all. However, support passives, not as great. Great in ranked, just not in competitive. Fuse being able to see circles. Maybe there's something you could put up with Conduit. Maybe Conduit has a chance. I like to see these. I like to see these ones where Conduit maybe gets a chance to get a passive that can help her kind of offset her role right now. So I think there's some conversation in the perks that could help. Loba also same deal. Loba wasn't played this round. The meta was a little bit too secure, but when the meta falls off into like, where everyone's being pretty aggressive, there's none of these powerhouse kind of like ultimate abilities that are dominating. Loba, I think, fits right in. If you put a Valkyrie, if you had like Pathfinder or Fuse or like Bangalore, I think you could see teams running Loba because she brings value to your in-game circle. Ammo is incredibly hard to get for certain stacks, reducing the stacks of certain ammo. Energy ammo as well due to the Havoc nerfs. Ordinances are great when you're don't have a Fuse heavy meta where people already have a lot of stuff to throw at you. So, if you're now looking for more grenades, you're looking for more meds, it starts to be a thing. Also, loot bins, gold loot bins, people have a lot of what they need. That's kind of Loba's category of getting those things, giving it to your team, trying to outlevel and outpace by the items that she can provide you. So, yeah, she's not played, but it makes sense. That makes sense for why she's not played. Vantage is a character we thought might start to see a little bit of something. She's a recon legend, so she could see survey beacons and know where players are. Now, we saw a lot of these be kind of the pace for, okay, how are we going to navigate around a map? You get a little bit of Evo shield upgrade as well for that, and you find, I think a good way to kind of spot out as an IGL where the best path of rotating is. But with the damage increase, with the ease of getting bullets back off ultimate accelerants, with the better utility, and what I mean is the ease of use of getting Echo, her bat, into right positions, not getting blocked by line of sights, things that have continued to happen. I just personally think she's going to need to get over the hump of the way people perceive her. And I talk about this all the time. This is why characters who arrive in our game, I encourage to be very overtuned, because, you know, you can put out a midseason patch, you could put out an emergency patch. Uh, hey, Aaron, thank you so much for the $4.99, the $5 You're the man. Thank you so much on your 5th super on a live stream. For the previous message, what do you love about Apex nowadays? OG player and fan of yours. Hope all is well. I'm loving the diversity of the metas that we've just had, Aaron. And I'm talking about them right now in this video, but I'm truly, truly enjoying the fact that, the fact that we've got over the last month when we were in Riyadh, one team won with a completely different meta of like Pathfinder and Fuse and Bangalore. And now we see, and from EMEA, and now we see a team back from North America winning with Crypto, with Newcastle, with Watson. I mean, how often have we been able to say that these legends are legends that people are playing at the highest level competitively at the same time, or in such a few short weeks away from each other? Also, really wanted to know, he dropped Apex for Overwatch a little while ago. Why should he get back into it? What's great about the game nowadays? Yeah, it's just, to me, I think they're adding a lot of fun elements. I would get in just to try the Akimbos. The Akimbo shotguns, my goodness. Yeah, I would get in and try that because I feel like gunplay is always amazing. When you move in Apex, you'll feel like that's why this game is something special. And yeah, I mean, our competitive scene is amazing. Now, we are going on a little break, kind of, but we got some other stuff going. And but I appreciate you coming in and dropping that. And I got to say, stick on the streams. We're going to play a little bit here if we can. And maybe you'll find a couple of good reasons as well. I appreciate you, though, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Man, it's been a minute. We gotta throw the heart on that bad boy. Yeah, you gotta try it. You gotta try it. Double Mozam, man. Akimbo Mozam, Akimbo P2020s. They are fun. All right. So, where does that leave us, guys? So Vantage, yeah, just came in a little too strong. I mean, not as strong of a character release, and that's hurt Vantage. And so constantly these buffs are so small that it's nothing's pushed her over the edge yet. Hopefully that changes. Maybe you can grind some Vantage. Maybe you can come onto my videos, comment, let me know like what you think needs to be done, or let us know in the chat what needs to be done for these characters, because I personally, I'm not invested. So I would go in theory craft, but I don't play Vantage that much, and there's no reason for me to right now. I like the character, but I'm just not that invested. So, that's kind of where I'm at. It's all love, but that's just a little bit where I'm at with that. Okay. Now, let's go to Ashe. Ashe is a character I feel like, and again, I don't do leaks. I don't know anything about that. I literally do not watch, or if there's a leak or something, like I have no idea. So what literally happens, though, in my eyes, is this is a character that looks like they need a rework. This is a character that looks like they do too many things adjacent to a Pathfinder, adjacent to a Wraith, that isn't enough to separate them in this pack and be effective at a high level competitively. What will it take? I don't know. I've talked about 2 dashes back to back on the ultimate. They've fixed quality of life, being able to hold a gun, being able to hold your tactical while throwing your gun. There's been things of adding double tacticals. I think the perk system gives Ashe a chance, but it's just been really, really hard. And this is a character that just hasn't made it. Also, the big 1999, the 20 bomb from Aaron. You're the best, man. Great content since the beginning. Glad to be a fan. Thank you. Thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate it. Keeping the vibes high on YouTube. Thank you so much. My first day doing this co-stream, guys. I don't know if you like it, but I'm loving it. Thank you again, Aaron. Hopefully you'll be hanging around and we'll be seeing more of each other on here. Appreciate you, bro. With your pre-made loadout, I saw that might be a possibility. That's an interesting idea. All right, let's finish this real quick. I know sometimes people watching the video back go, who is he talking to? I'm live. Make sure to check me out, twitch.tv/Rainday or youtube.com/RaindayGaming, if we're going to be doing this a little bit more often. And again, a big shout out to our sponsor. I'll do a read in just a second. But let's talk about the not competitive legends. Kind of the, gosh, I don't want to say ugly ducklings, but in terms of competitive, certainly. Ballistic, Octane, and Mirage, certainly. Alter Alter's in a weird position because she's got too much of a ceiling that no one has even discovered where it ends yet. No one's put in that time. We've had too much. I think Alter is now a character that might have a really good offseason. This is where you could start to experiment. This is where you have a little bit of time. This is where you could play, get some new ideas. You could change your roster. You could have a new coach. You can get some new ideas percolating, like that early morning coffee percolating. And Alter really needs that. She's just a hot. This is a character that has too much to do that could be good. That's a problem. Now they've added some buffs to allow Alter for you to get back into her ultimate or where her ult is faster, a recall for your team. And I've only played it a little bit. I've only had one Alter on my team, so I think what's happening is she's just suffering from not being played enough. And, I think she's not being played enough because people don't know what they're trying to do with her yet. So it's going to take some trailblazing. I think it's going to take a pro, maybe a content creator, someone who's just really committed to Alter to kind of show you a little bit on, what she can do and how she can do it. Once that becomes a part of like the ethos of Apex, people will want to put their own spin on it and she'll become really good. But she's not a part of that zeitgeist, of like, what does it mean to play Apex? And I really like her designer, Ian Holstead, I believe. If he's not watching right now or he ever sees this, I really like the designer, the thought that went behind it. It's really amazing. And so I hope that Alter does well. It just is going to take some time. Octane, on the other hand, is going to require a meta to shift. Now, one way I could see Octane kind of shifting, being a part of it, is if you have too defensive of a meta and you have something where you have a Revenant, you have a kind of Maggie, right? You have like a destruction type meta that can run in, that can be aggressive, that can take height, that can rotate fast, that can get picks, that can be hard to deal with. Octane and Revenant, that was one of the strongest metas that we ever had in Apex Legends, and it needed to get reverted because these two characters running at you with Revenant Death Totem it's not a pretty sight. Can Maggie, can Ashe, can Octane, can Alter maybe, but maybe just more Revenant, Maggie, Octane, Ashe link up and do something maybe with Conduit? Can they link up and kind of make a little something going on? Or like once this push comes up, you're not going to be able to stop any of us, right? I think there's something there, right? But again, we don't play a 4-player game, play a 3-player. So what are you giving up? Fuse didn't even make it until he could see Ring. If a team plays this, they've got no survey beacon, they've got no Ring console, and no pro is going to touch that. So until you solve that problem, you're going to have an issue. You're going to have an issue with who makes it into competitive, and you're not going to have 2 slots available. You might have 1 slot for a character like this, and that means Octane has to beat out the rest of this entire roster. That's tough. Same goes for Mirage. A lot of fun, really hard to be a team player. And some characters, I always say this, are not designed to be team characters. They're designed to be solo fun characters, ranked characters. Mirage is one of them. Don't expect Mirage to be pairing with anything because he has abilities that are all about him. And maybe that's because of his personality, but they're just all about what he does, and throws a decoy and he goes invisible. And yes, he can res silently, and that is frustrating in ranked, and invisibly as well. But you can't have too much invisibility running into your game too. Crypto already is a ton of invisibility. I got to remember to react to some of those clips because it's like, it's nuts, the invisibility that he brings. Last but not least, I'm going to say Ballistic is a character I really hope gets a little bit more action. I don't know if he will, but I hope he gets a little bit more action. I think he has not enough time with his newest perk, which allows you to actually level up the upgrade of your sling weapon without keeping it white and then going straight to gold, but actually to like level it up as you're playing and as you're getting higher purples and reds, and then use it as a third weapon. I think there's something special there. It's just so hard to find where the team value is. I like his tactical a lot, and I also like his presence. Like, I just feel like he's got a pretty good presence. Anybody who's got a tactical that like stops space, forces the other player to like move back up. I don't want to touch that. I like that. I think there's something there. But it's just going to be about how do you make that ult better for your team and like enough to pick up. And again, you go like, there's a Zerg composition for Revenant, Maggie, Ashe, Ballistic, right? There's something there, right? But it's just we haven't been able to find it, and no one's going to be looking too hard if there are other great answers like this. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, whether you're going to agree with this tier list or not. I really liked it. I appreciate it. Can I find who it was? Yes, it was Wyatt Watt who put this together. So congrats to him, and thank you guys for watching that tier list.